Good morning, guys, and thank you for tuning in to episode 4 of the Winnipeg Market Watch podcast. Today, I am joined here with my usual co host, investor extraordinaire Denzel Sullivan, but we also have a very special guest who is going to be joining us for the entire portion of this episode. We're going to start by reviewing the market data as usual and then interview the one and only Brent Fontaine, who is a top 1% realtor in the city of Winnipeg. He's been in our local market for several years and deals with a variety of property types, including residential home sales, new construction, vacant land for development, and more. Brent is known for his high level of activity in Winnipeg's southernmost areas, including St. Vital, River Park South, Fort Garry, and of course, pretty much anywhere you can sell very nice homes. In addition to being a very successful realtor, father, and husband, Brent is also the de facto mentor for all independent agents at the Judy Lindsay Team Realty office and provides hands on training multiple times a week for agents of all levels, myself included. Needless to say, Denzel and I are honored to be able to have Brent on the show with us today. Brent, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. I feel special that you're letting me be a part of the market update portion. I noticed that a guest hasn't been allowed to do that yet, so I feel honored.
We're excited to hear your perspective, and I'll share with the listeners right now that Brent actually, before he became a realtor, had a lot of formal training in economics. Isn't that right, Brent?
Yeah, I was an economist for 5 years. Well, technically, I was a junior economist and a statistician for the federal government for 5 years before I became a realtor. I went and, got the job that my parents and my parents' generation thought was the job you should have coming out of high school. And yeah, I did that before I became a realtor. And in the kind of Malcolm Gladwell way, I think I got my 10,000 hours of market research and knowledge before I ever even started talking about real estate. So it's been a huge advantage for me in my career.
That is incredible, and we are very excited to ask you all about your background. But first, we're going to dig into the market data here.
Um,
So,
Keenan, let
go
me
ahead,
just cut you
Denzel.
off
Yeah,
there.
get
Uh,
after it.
I think because we do have some new listeners, maybe just let's just introduce ourselves, because I know that there's some people that might just be this might be their first episode, right?
Go right
Um,
ahead.
so Denzel Sullivan, Winnipeg, we're flipping a lot of houses here, we're buying a lot of rentals. And we're Keenan and I are very aggressive in the marketplace looking for stuff. And yeah, I've been doing this for about four years now. And this is probably one of the most interesting times that I've been a part of, at least as an investor, kind of going through the interest rate hike cycle and then now kind of seeing what the market trends are looking to be, the interest rates coming down. So yeah. And then Keenan, if you want to just say a couple things about yourself before we jump into it.
Absolutely. For those of you who don't know, my name is Keenan Brown. I am a realtor with Judy Lindsay Team Realty. I've been in the business for about 6, maybe even 7 years now. It's hard to keep track of time. And I agree with Denzel. This is one of the crazier markets that I've been a part of and seen. And even speaking to older agents, it definitely does seem like that's the case. Um, Let's talk about the March data, though, you guys. In March, the benchmark price for detached homes in the city of Winnipeg rose to $409,900, which is up from last month at up from the December print of 398,300. That's incorrect. 409,900 last month, up from 380 in December, leading us to a 7.7% year-to-date gain. Last month, we were up 4.82%. That means month over month, the gain was a little less than 3%, and we are only down 4.5% from the all time high of May 2022. I'm going to ask you both right away. We kind of knew that the spring market was here and that prices were going to rise. Is anybody surprised to see that we're up 8% year to date and that the market seems to be doing 4 and 3% jumps monthly at this point? I'll let you go first, Denzel.
Um, for me personally, I definitely feel I was sort of anticipating a busy spring market. I think last year's spring market in 2023 actually surprised a lot of people too, just with the amount of activity, despite, I guess, the doom and gloom in the media. But to this extent, in the following year after, I think is you know, it's incredible to see in Winnipeg. And it just goes to show that despite what other provinces are experiencing, especially in like those major cities, Winnipeg is still one of the most affordable places in Winnipeg, or sorry, in the country. And I just
Mhm.
actually read something the other day that the prairies have the highest income per person in comparison to real estate values like in the country. So you think about, you know, if you're making as if the combined household income is 200 grand here because you got two professionals making six figures or even 150 grand, like you can move into some really nice neighborhoods here in Winnipeg. So yeah, I mean, to this extent, seeing what is it, 8% from December, Keenan, is that right?
That's
Like
right. Yeah. Just
that's
under.
like, yeah, you know, we're almost 10 points from that. So, you know, you buy a house for 200 and you could sell it for 220 today is pretty good, right? So,
No kidding. Brent, any takes on the data here?
Well, I have takes, but
Of course.
I will repeat something I've heard Keenan say on a bunch of episodes, which I think comes from me, but I'm going to say it again. And it's that interest rates, everyone puts too much value into interest rates. They are a public facing thing that people think they understand and they don't. Right? If you ask the average person what controls interest rates in Canada, they're going to say the government. And technically it's not even the government, it's the Bank of Canada, right? And so there's a lot of misinformation and a lot of people who think they understand who don't, right? But my number one rule and what I've learned a lot is if there's a period of stability in interest rates, it will create stagnation in the market. If there's a period of instability, and that instability could just be the threat of interest rates changing, whether they're going up or down, doesn't matter. That instability creates chaos and volatility. So, stability, bad for us in real estate, right? We want some sort of volatility. We want it going up, down, anywhere in between, because that will trigger buying. And what happened is we had a year last year of stability in interest rates. And that meant a lot of people decided to sit on the bench and not get in the game. Well, that works for about a year. And then you get tired of renting or tired of living in your parents' basement. And it's time to get out. And so now we have basically 2 years worth of a new crop of buyers entering the market at the exact same time and competing against themselves. And that's what's creating all of this. So if you see interest rate stability and you feel volatility coming, that's the time to enter the market. If you feel stability and you're in the middle of it, that's a great time to be buying. So it makes perfect sense to me. We have twice as many buyers as we should right now because people took grade 12 pre-cal math and they think interest rates are up. I should stop participating. So I could go for hours about this. It's
yeah,
a,
Brent's getting fired up right
Oh,
now.
every time I hear one of our agents or one of our clients talk about the interest rates, it drives me insane.
Yeah.
My answer always is what controls interest rates? And no one knows the answer. And so it's to use interest rate as a reason to buy or sell real estate is really, really short-sighted. You should use it to inform when to make your decisions, not how to make them.
I actually couldn't agree more. Like that was a very nuanced way of putting that, and excellently articulated. By the way, I love the energy on this call. By the way, I feel like both of you guys are really fired up, and I want to get on your level. Like, so
Get some coffee.
yeah, get some coffee. No kidding. Um, let's discuss supply. So I'm looking at the supply figures in front of me, and in terms of number of sales, it looks like 2024 is beating out 2023, but not quite at the level of 2022 and 2021. Although one interesting fact is the number of transactions that occurred very nearly doubled month over month, which seasonally is somewhat regular, but interestingly enough as well, the number of active listings went almost unchanged. Um, that means for those of you who can't put two and two together with just words alone, basically the supply stayed constant of homes on the market, but far more transactions occurred in March than it did in February of this year. Um, citywide absorption is also now straight into a seller's market. We were in a balanced market apparently last month, although I do think it really was a seller's market last month too. And overall, the bidding war percentage shot all the way to 45% of homes selling at or above list price with 55% roughly selling under asking. I know myself, this to me is pretty much exactly what I expected to happen. I just didn't realize the severity of it. This was maybe a little further than I thought things would go, but I'm very curious to hear both of you on this. Denzel, any comments?
Well, again, it's the seasonality, and I think that every year in real estate I'm learning new things. When I first jumped into the market, I was kind of in a time where COVID was huge and people didn't want to get out and buy, and so the supply got taken off the market, and then all of a sudden everyone's like, well, I guess no one's buying houses anymore, right? Like those times were not so long ago, and so now I'm almost anticipating like just every spring, talking to other agents is always good. There's activity in the market, whether the market's up or down or sideways, whatever. And so I think again, most shockingly, despite the high interest rates, and I know Brent that he said that, they don't really affect things as much. To see the market as strong as it is right now is incredible. Like I just feel it's good for me and my business. It's good for other homeowners who are sitting on the sidelines thinking about selling. It's a good time to be on the sale side. As far as buying goes, I think with the rates being where they are, it pushes everyone down the affordability ladder a little bit, which then means with the lack of inventory and certain price points, it becomes really challenging to like get into stuff, right? I have a few friends that are pre-approved for 300, and how many houses out there that are going for 300 right now? Well, there's a lot, but not all of them. There's probably only 15 of them that are actually good houses that you can get into, but there's like 50 buyers for them. So in an offer week, right, where there's like 4 or 5 new listings at a certain price point, and there's 50 people that want the same product, well, only 10 are getting it, and that leaves another 40, not to mention the next set of people who just get up off the couch and like, I'm looking for a house now, that are going to come in the market a month later after the pre-approval process is done. So yeah, I just it's again a very interesting time. I'm actually curious to know like when we'll actually see some stagnation, I guess you can call it, in pricing. But I mean, I don't know how far that is, because by the looks of it, I've been saying to Keenan every time we've hung out, I have like a contrarian theory that when interest rates come down, maybe that's when the market will cool off, because now there's just very clear evidence for both buyers and sellers that okay, it's safe to put our house on the market. People have kind of forgot about COVID, and now it's just a balanced market. And maybe we get like 2 flat years here in Winnipeg, but I just don't know when that's going to happen. Yeah.
Interesting take. I don't really know what the answer is to that, but I do think that there is some merit to, and back to what Brent said, actually, that when the time comes that rates do come down, there will be a sense of, oh, okay, it happened. Now back to business as usual, and it may decrease the transactions, but we will have to wait and see how that one plays out. I ultimately think you're probably at least partly correct. But again, only time will tell. Brent, on to you regarding the data. How do you feel about the supply picture from March of this year?
It makes a lot of sense, right? Like Denzel said, we're in a cyclical market. When I'm talking to the agents about how to help their clients, right? We talk not about the sellers. Sorry, Denzel, we don't talk about you, the seller. We talk about the buyer, right? And we talk about the buyers coming in waves in the spring. And there are times of year that create these waves. There's moments in time, right, where the wave starts and that wave picks up a bunch of people, and then all those people buy and it calms down. Then the next one comes. And he's 100% right. The wave is growing, right? And it grows and it grows and it grows. And generally in our market, by May long weekend, the price volatility really calms down. And by that point, a lot of the steep competition is over. But that's also the time where you will see list prices dramatically change. So if I think a house is worth 380, I'm going to list it for 349.9 or 374.9 now. We're going to get a couple offers or 5 offers. We're going to sell for 380. If I'm listing that house in July, I'm going to list it for 379. So there's a lot of times with price points where if we're paying attention to price points, they can be deceiving.
Mm.
because us as listing agents, we can manipulate the data, right?
Yeah.
We
Of
can
course.
create these environments where we see a wave coming and we talk about it in our trainings. It's time to start backing down list prices, not because we're trying to trap people, because it's what the market expects at this time of year. A buyer expects to be in a bidding war right now, right? So on the selling side, me as an agent, I've been holding listings and I'm going to drop them in the next 4 weeks because this is when the biggest wave comes. So we're going to see a huge spike in supply because we want to catch the biggest wave. And that all happens in the next 8 weeks. So for Denzel's buddies who are trying to buy a $300,000 house, first piece of advice, hire a good agent because you're going to need to stand out in a crowd. Second piece of advice is you have two choices. You get in the fight and you go buy a house right now, or you wait till May long and you find your house in June, but understand that you're going to look at a house that's listed at 299 then and might be less of a house than you can buy now.
Yeah.
Because the price is going up and it's going to go up between now and May long and then it's done. So all the supply hits now. As a buyer, you have no choice. You got to get in the ring and fight right now.
I couldn't agree more. And for those of you out there who are on the fence about buying or are showing or sorry, taking showings and viewing homes, but are either gun shy about offers or, hoping that something better is going to come, my message to you is the clock is ticking and you are risking being left behind by this market and then arguably, going into summer and the list prices and the strategy is going to completely change. And what was for the longest time, just to use Lindenwoods as an example, in the fall last year, most of the bungalows were listed at 599 and they'd get negotiated down. Whereas now the same houses fundamentally are being listed for 550 or sometimes less and getting bid up, sometimes more than the
Selling at
asking
the
price
same spot.
originally. Yeah. And selling in it's the same area. It's, the whole situation is different. And Brent actually had said something to me in the past. I don't remember quite when, but he had suggested that we maybe tell our buyers, pretend list prices don't exist.
Yeah.
And
That sentiment comes from, I've been doing this, like I started in 2011, right? I bought my first house in 2009. I think our interest rate was like 5.8 when we bought our first house. And I remember my friends being like, "Oh, how did you get that rate? That's such a good rate. You got under 6, right?" And so this idea that these rates around 5% are bad is insane. You guys need to understand that this is the 25-year average for interest rates and mortgage rates, and that is where we should live. If it's lower, that's bad for us. If it's higher, that's bad for us because it's going to swing inflation, and that is the thing we should pay attention to for the value of our real estate, right?
mhm.
Everyone thinks it's interest rates, it's inflation. Side note. Back to what your question was, is in that time when I started, there'd be 47 offers on a house, right? I'd show up with my clients and I'd have to wait in a line outside the house to view a house at 6 o'clock on a Thursday night. There'd be a literal line in front of the house, right? So at that time, we told buyers it doesn't matter what list price they picked. Every house should be listed for 0. Find the area you like and then go look. So paying attention to list prices is a fool's errand. Don't do it. We manipulate them like crazy to manipulate you guys. Stop paying attention to them. Pay attention to what stuff sells for.
Excellent advice in a market like we're living in right now. Last note about the market data, and then we're going to get into a little bit more of a conversational piece here. But I found it interesting that there are currently 6 MLS areas in Winnipeg that have had 100% of detached homes sell year to date. Those areas are 3E East Kildonan, 5G Westwood, 1BW Crescentwood, 1L Waverly Heights, 3P East St. Paul, and 4G Garden City. I don't know about you guys. I've done some shopping in a lot of those areas, all actually except for Waverly Heights at this point. And the experience that I've had in those neighborhoods is complete and utter chaos. And I wanted to hear from the both of you, just on a basis of absorption. Was there anything that really stood out to you this past month, or any areas that you were either listing in, buying in, or doing deals in for Denzel's purposes that really blew your mind one way or the other?
I know for myself, every location I have or area I have property under renovation. I watch very closely just to see like how things are trading in those neighborhoods. Charleswood's is I don't think that was on the list though, Keenan, that you had just said, but Charleswood has been super hot. I've seen some really crazy sales that's happened in that area. Like I'm seeing stuff go like 50 to $100,000 over the asking price. Like that's not uncommon. Um, I've seen houses in the West End, Sergeant Park, go close to 100K over asking price for the right products. And so it's just very reminiscent to when things were really frothy at the end of this bull run in 2022. And so these days when I'm looking at property, I'm definitely thinking like anything that I buy now, I need to be done by June or else I don't want to do it. Or it needs to be such a great deal that I know that I'm selling in the summertime and that I could price it in such a way. Any buyers that are actually looking in the months of July and August see it and they're like, okay, let's go look at this place. Right.
Mhm.
So in terms of the neighborhoods that are really hot right now, none of it really surprises me. I just the whole market's hot, right? Just but to see 100% absorption is really good. I actually just picked up a place in East Kildonan, so that's good news. Um, with that being said, so yeah.
Excellent. Excellent stuff. Brent, any areas that you particularly found to be hot? And actually, before you answer, I will just note that Charleswood is absorption at 81%, which means there were 32 listings and 26 sales. But go ahead, Brent. Let us know what your experience has been shopping in March.
Yeah, and when you're looking at that data, guys, also remember that areas that have a large portion of new construction are going to always have lower absorption rates because you're going to list a new construction home on MLS and it's going to sit as a spec as they're digging the basement and those things. So you're going to see places like West St. Paul, Waverly West, Charleswood, any of the smaller like outcropping towns, you're going to see their absorption plummet as all those listings pop up. So it's going to really skew the data. So
Of course, yes.
absorption outside of construction season, excellent stat to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Absorption during construction season can get very skewed. You know, myself, we're doing a development in Lorette, right? Like I have 24 spec listings up right now. So that's skewing all the data for that town now on MLS for days on market. And so just be careful with that. But it's not surprising, right? Like I bet you if we looked at Charleswood resale, it's probably 98%. And then it gets skewed down because of the newer stuff in Ridgewood and over there, right? So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all. These are the same areas. Like I remember, I'll talk like Guy talked last episode. I remember when I started, and we used to. It was all we were always chasing the 1,000 square foot bungalow from the 70s, right? If you grew up in St. Vital, we used to buy that in Old St. Vital. Then we had to go buy it in Windsor Park. And now those people are pushed into other areas, right? And that's exactly why East Kildonan is starting to grow and have such high absorption. When I started, no one wanted to live south of Kimberley. Now all of a sudden it became what like, and then that line is slowly shrinking, and eventually it'll be at Talbot again, right? As these neighborhoods turn over. So makes complete sense to me based on the buyers who are buying right now.
Excellent. Well, it's really nice to hear both of your perspectives on that from two different sides of the industry that don't really collide very often. And that is, I think, what's going to be the most exciting part of the next portion of the episode here is to see your two somewhat distinct worlds overlap and collide kind of live on air here. Um, Before we interview Brent, I just want to hear a couple of quick updates from some of the projects that you've got on the go right now, Denzel. Can you let us know what do you think is going to be coming to market here in April? Have you had any success selling stuff in March? And what are your plans for the remainder of the spring market?
Yeah, so March was a really strong month for both a lot of the wholesale stuff that we've been doing and as well as the uh sales side of things. I think we sold 3 properties like actual flips in the month of March, so that's fantastic. I was really pumped about that.
Mhm.
Um and as far as what's coming to market in April, we have our 2-story on Queenston in River Heights that's going to be available shortly here after we get that garage built out. We've actually already finished all of the interior work and we're just waiting for appliances and windows. So that's really exciting. I think that listing is going to do super well. We have our, our bungalow in Charleswood that's going to be ready in the next couple weeks. And then a really nice starter home that's going to be ready on Lipton in the West End shortly here. So there's a lot of things going on. I just picked up another 3 contracts that I'm going to be, fixing up the houses and selling them in the months of June, I believe. And yeah, it's just, this is probably, and I think I've said this before on other episodes, like this year especially has just felt like the amount of opportunities that I'm seeing at least come across my desk from multiple different places, whether it's through door knocking or the flyers or my network is amazing, and I'm really grateful to have that amount of business and the ability to just actually pick and choose which deals I want to move forward on. And yeah, it's a good time, I think after 4 years of just going really hard and trying to build a name for myself here in Winnipeg, I think it's been paying off this year for sure. And every mistake that I've made flipping a house is, we've corrected those. And I just think that it's going to be an awesome spring to be selling a lot of the stuff that I have here.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm also really excited to get into all of those projects that you had just mentioned. And I think you're going to have great outcomes on the market in general. I do have a specific question for you. And this is something that I have been frequently asked by a number of investors over this last, especially 2 months as the market's gotten really hot. But are you thinking of selling off any portion of your rental real estate portfolio into this big jump up in prices that we've just recently experienced, either this spring or summer?
100%. I think after, you know, holding a ton of real like property as rentals, one thing that I've come to just realize what I like is money in the bank. Like I love the idea of building wealth through owning properties, but I think at scale, um unless if that's not like your main focus, it's really hard to see the money, at least in my opinion. I'm a young guy. I'm 27 years old. I have a newborn, and well, she's 8 months now, and nothing is more important than me than the time part of things, and I think
Mhm.
if I were to go back in time, back in 2021, when I was really aggressively buying a lot of these rentals, I probably would have been selling them into the uptrends of the pricing, because in 2021 and 2022 you could have bought something in January and then again sold it for 10% to 12% more, like in March and April. That's how crazy it was, right? And did absolutely nothing to the house. And so, I think this year I'm looking to sell at least 3 to 4 of those properties, because now that values have caught up, because I did actually have some properties that would be considered, I guess you can call it, over leveraged to a certain degree, because I had to basically carry it through all of 2022 and 2023. That's about an 18-month sort of hold period. And then now to kind of see how prices are moving up again and there's actual equity to be gained from these houses, yeah, I'm gonna unload at least 3 or 4 and then turn that capital and maybe use it into my flipping business probably.
That's sounds like an excellent plan to me. Just curious, Brent, do you have any comments on any of that?
I think it's a fantastic plan. Listen, they I'm sure we'll get into it later how I feel about the flipping and the wholesale part of our industry, but
Mhm.
um hearing someone in that industry talk about risk mitigation is very refreshing. Uh right? Like it's be smart with your money. It's okay to take chips off the table once in a while and save it for a rainy day. So it's yeah, I love hearing it. It's one of the main reasons I'm here, because I believe Denzel's doing it differently than I've seen it done before. And he's saying very intelligent things like, I'm going to mitigate some risk this year and pull some chips off the table. And as an investor, as a business owner, right? You guys are running businesses, mitigating your risk and preparing for a rainy day is what good business people do.
Yeah.
So that when the rain comes, you can take advantage of it. And that's exactly what you just said. And it's really, really smart.
Yeah.
That was a great addition to Denzel's comments there. We're going to move on to our Brent Fontaine interview. And Brent, you've been excellent so far this episode, and I think everybody's already really excited to hear your story. Let's go back to what we were talking about earlier in the episode about your background and how it is exactly that you chose to get started in real estate and why.
Okay, so when I was 20, I started working at Future Shop selling plasma TVs. So if you have gone to the St. James or Regent Future Shop from 2000 to 2006, you probably bought your TV from me. And that started my sales background when I was in university. And I got this fancy government job and I was still selling TVs. And, on Saturday and Sunday, I could make double or triple what I made during the week in my government job selling plasmas.
It was
And
that insane?
it was
Really?
crazy. It was crazy.
Holy.
And so during that time, I really honed in my ability to sell. And, I pride myself on being an economist and thinking that way. So it was time to monetize my skill. So my wife and I went through buying our first house, and I realized in that process that I could do a way better job than I was seeing done, and not just by our agent, by all the agents I interacted with. And at that time in the industry, it was a little stale on the realtor front. It had been the same voices for a long time, and I saw an opportunity and I took advantage of it. So I jumped into real estate. That's almost 13 years ago, 13 and a half years ago. And now we're here. And like Keenan said in the intro, I've done a little bit of everything. And over the last couple of years, I've settled into some certain specialized areas of this market. And yeah, that's how I got here, I guess. And then where we go from here, it'll be exciting. We'll find out.
That's absolutely fantastic. And it's always great to hear people's background in detail when you're having an extended conversation where there's back and forth questions and dialogue, just to understand where somebody came from and their perspective on what it was that got them going. But as you know, getting started in real estate is really tough. One question that Denzel and I always ask people on the podcast and actually just in general is, was there ever a moment in your career where you feel like or you felt like you finally made it? Or in other words, when exactly did you feel like you were finally a real realtor?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this in two parts. I'm going to talk about my lowest moment first, because it's through that low moment that I figured it out.
Okay.
So about 6 years into my realtor life, I was working on arguably at the time the biggest real estate team, Judy Lindsay team in the city. I was learning from Guy, who was on your last episode, and these amazing mentors who helped kind of fast track my career. And there was a point about 6 years in where I was really toying with starting my own team. And I was starting to feel like I knew how to do it better than everyone. And saying that out loud now, it's pretty obvious that my ego was driving the bus at this point in my life. And there's a very famous picture for me, but infamous for me and my wife and my family. And it's me at the real estate awards. And I'm accepting an award because I sold so much for the team that I got an award as the team. And I sold so much for myself as an individual that I won an award. So I was the only realtor in the room to win 2 awards that night. And there's this photo of me, and it financially for me and my family was the lowest point of my career. I'm standing on stage in a suit winning 2 awards, and me and my wife went home and probably ate ramen for dinner, right? And it's because I was chasing the ego part of this business and the I want quantity over quality. And it was the hardest moment for me to realize, like, hey, I got what I thought was the thing, right? I'm at the top. I'm in a room with the best agents in Winnipeg, and I'm at the top. And it was miserable. And so coming out of that is when I started the Brent Fontaine group and started doing this business the way I thought it should be done and built a business. Up to that point, I was a great sales guy. I was a pretty crappy businessman. And through that moment of the high, but also in the background, the biggest low, that was kind of my aha moment of how to do this business the way I think it should be done, and how I took myself from a very unprofitable top 1% to where I'm now at a very profitable 1%. I think I probably had a profit margin of 15% at that moment. And now I run a profit margin of 95%, right? And so it's not that I'm selling more, it's not that I'm doing more, I'm doing better work and I'm serving people better. And so for me, my aha moment is not like oh, I sold $1 million house. It was when I felt the worst and the shittiest. That's when I knew.
That is really remarkable, and actually probably something many team agents feel at some point in their journey through the industry. I did want to touch on something though. Uh, Brent, you don't actually have a advertising budget. Like you don't really market yourself in traditional ways that a lot of realtors do, like with billboards, bus benches, TV commercials, flyers, etc. Um, can you tell us a little bit about why that is and how you're still so successful without spending huge amounts of money like other big agents and 1% top producers in Winnipeg do?
I think I'm probably the only 1% realtor without a website. Right?
Probably. Yeah.
Like I haven't had a website in a decade. And it's almost a running joke at this point between my partner Kevin and I of like, are we gonna do it this year? Nah. Um, I just I realized at that time I was chasing a part of this business that didn't pay you back, right? Like I would go get these clients at open houses or wherever. I'm a really good sales guy. If I'm going to do an open house and 10 people are coming through, one of those 10 people are going to leave going, "Oh, I really like that Brent guy." I'm good at that. I've practiced for 3 decades, right?
Mhm.
So, but those clients are not loyal. Those clients are not appreciative when you go above and beyond. And so I stepped back in that moment and I built a business of purely referral. And I have clients who've referred me 15, 20 different clients, right? And as that mushroom kind of grows out from that original referral, we've built a network of, I've done thousands of transactions at this point. And all of those people are referral based. I get referrals from agents from other cities. It's all referral based. And to me, only way you can do that is if you're really good at this job, right? The show up in a BMW, look at my billboard, and I'm wearing a $400 suit, but you think it's a $4,000 suit, and I don't wear socks with my loafers vibe is not me, right? That's not my vibe, right? I often laugh at people and I make a joke about it, but I can't lease a BMW because I put 60,000 kilometers on my car every year. I'm a working realtor and I show up and I work. And to me, when I unlock that, it unlocked a very profitable side of the business for me to where I could build where I'm at now. I'm actually building a business that protects my clients and my family. And I often talk about it in training with the agents, but I really feel like I built a great boat. And no matter what flood comes, I got room for everyone. And so as the market gets harder, in the last 2 years, we talk about those interest rate things. I was sitting in a meeting room 2.5 years ago going, it's about to get hard and now's the time to go. And so it's about understanding the market, understanding the clients reacting to it, and not paying attention to the shiny objects over here. Look at me stuff. Basically, I got rid of my ego and I started being humble again. And good things happen when you're humble.
You
Yeah.
know what? It's amazing that you say so, because looking around at the people who I know are doing really well, like I'm gonna just put you guys on blast here. Denzel drives a Toyota RAV4, and I drive a Subaru Crosstrek. And Brent, I know you drive a Ford, but what is the model actually?
It's a Ford Edge. You should buy it from Midtown Ford. I have a lot of clients there. Go there. They're great people.
Love the shout outs. I love the
Um,
shout outs. Go ahead,
I just
Denzel.
I just want to comment on what Brent said about leaving your ego at the door. And honestly, like the past 2 years flipping houses, a lot of people get into I want to be the nicest house on the market all the time. And we're gonna get into the flip stuff for sure, and we're gonna
Oh,
talk
Dead
about
Cell. Don't. spoil the ending. Don't spoil it.
I just want to say that in this line of work, I have found that just running lean like you are, Brent, is a great way to just keep costs low and still be profitable. Because ultimately, we live in Winnipeg. You don't exactly need a whole lot to live a good life out here, Like we're not in Vancouver where, you got to be making 250 to live modestly. It's like 100 grand can get you still in Winnipeg a very, you know, good life where you can experience things and have some nice things, right? So yeah, I really love that. And I'm really happy for you that you found that in your career and then, where you are today. It's awesome.
Thanks, dude. Appreciate that.
So I know we've talked a lot about getting into the flip stuff here. And I'm going to let Denzel ask you the question specifically about the flipping and real estate investing here, Brent, because that is really Denzel's area of expertise. And it's going to be very exciting to me to watch that conversation play out. And I'd love to hear the back and forth. So without further ado, take it away, Denzel.
For sure. Okay, so Brent, what do you see in the market that what are the biggest or most common mistakes you see home flippers and investors repeatedly make?
Okay, you already spoiled one of them. But I think there's two things you guys do, not you specifically, Denzel, because I already pumped your tires, and it's the reason I'm here.
Yeah.
For the record, I get asked to do a lot of these things, to show up at these things, go talk to people. I say no to everything. I'm
Mhm.
here because you're doing it right. And the two things that all of your competitors are doing wrong is they are only thinking about their side of the table. How much money can I make? How much profit can I make? How can I get this to appraise for the most? And they stop thinking about their client or their customer. And
Yeah.
in the end, doing real estate flipping is no different than owning a convenience store. If you have an aisle in a convenience store full of fresh fruit, it's probably not going to sell as good as the aisle of energy drinks and chips beside it, because that's what people go to a convenience store to buy, right? And a lot of flippers are always chasing maximum value back, and they don't think about the buyer who's coming into that property. And what happens is all of your flips get picked apart by the buyers. You get feedback from your agents like, oh yeah, we didn't like, I don't know, why did they renovate the whole house but they left it crooked? Why do they say they have quartz counters and it's only a 1/4 inch thick? Why, like all these silly things that you're chasing. I see flippers chasing value instead of remembering that you're trying to sell this to make money. And time, like Denzel said, is the biggest enemy of profit. The longer you are on the market, the longer your flip takes, the longer the work takes, you are killing your profit. And every flipper on the planet buys a house. The last couple episodes, you've talked huge about Pembridge, right, Denzel? And
Yeah.
and you've talked about how much you want to do more like that. That was the moment where I felt like, oh, Denzel's going to be very good at this. Because
Yeah.
it was the first time I saw you recognize a marketplace in River Park South and understand that if you renovated Pembridge and finished the basement and did it all and got it to $399,900, that house takes a month to sell. Instead, you took it 80% of the way there. You listed it at $349,900, where all the buyers were, and every buyer in that neighborhood is trained to expect a 350 house to get bid up to 380. So you got to the same spot 3 months faster than you would have.
Yeah.
Right? And every flipper on the planet tries to max out. Guess what, guys? Your stuff's not that good. It doesn't automatically get to be 5% more than any house has ever sold for. I see that flooring at Home Depot. I know that's the thinnest baseboard you can buy. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
Like
100%.
don't insult me as the buying agent bringing my buyer there, and don't insult the buyers. They're not stupid,
Yeah.
right? They're not going to fall for those tricks. So if you want to renovate your house to the maximum value, you better make sure it's good.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've walked into a house priced at 105% of what it should be, and it has old windows, but hey, the kitchen's nice, right? That's a first-time home buyer. Guess what they don't care about? they can live with a crappy kitchen. I had plywood counters in my kitchen for a year when we bought our house, right?
Yeah.
But I needed new windows because my house was cold.
Yeah.
And I can't afford 25 grand for windows, but I can wait a couple months to spend 3 grand on a counter as a buyer. And that's my number one gripe. You guys don't think about the buyers. You think about your profit and your margin. And it's also in the way you interact with agents, right? A lot of flippers are talking to 50 different agents. And those agents that you hire are then scared to tell you the truth because they want to be the one of the 50 that
Yeah.
you're going to call again. And
Yeah.
so they're just yes men to you guys.
Yeah.
And that is a way to feed your ego, to take on lots of risk, and to put yourself out of business. That's my rant. Now I'm done. I'm done. We can end the show. It's good.
I want to clip all of that and make like a very long reel.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it any better. You know, I think a lot of the stuff that I see on the market these days, I don't know what happened. Maybe it was because I have a baby now and my perspective has just completely changed. And time is just so important to me these days. And you know what? Like I I I was spinning my tires trying to make my properties the most beautiful houses they ever been. And don't get me wrong, like I never skip a beat when I'm fixing up a house. If there's something wrong, like I address it. Um, but you know, I'm looking at some of the other product on the market that clearly is a flip. And sometimes, you know, yeah, they ask for like 105%. But if you look at like the sales data closer, and yeah, sure, you know, you could filter it and then just see what was the highest sale in the area recently, and then make your judgment of what you could sell for that way. But if you actually look at what they listed at and then saw that the offer date is what carried it up to that price, like that's like you can't just come to market at that price and expect to get that price. You have to get carried up there and you have to price it right. But you know, a lot of you know, flippers, they're always thinking of, okay, how let's just take it to the top and expect the most. But if you don't have enough eyes on it, you're not going to get there, right?
Yeah, and
And
like to be honest, I have like a big business line in my business is investment properties, investment clients, people who are buying like that's a huge part of my business.
yeah,
But I've waded through a lot of clients to where I have the people who are making intelligent decisions. When I list a house, I use fishing analogies, even though I hate fishing, but whatever. And it would be the equivalent of like, let's say you went to a lake and you see 9 boats all in a circle over there in the middle of the lake. And then you put your line in at the dock expecting to catch a fish.
yeah,
Those guys clearly know where all the fish are.
yeah,
Why would you think you're so smart? You could just catch a fish over here. They're very obviously there.
yeah,
And so it drives me bonkers. But also understand for all the investors, flippers, and different people listening to this, we as agents talk about this, right? I know when I see the same staging furniture, white walls, and gray floors, exactly who built it. And we discuss, oh, that's going to be of this quality, right? Or, hey, I've shown a bunch of his stuff. It's not good, right? And so if you make a couple of these mistakes in a row, you can really stigmatize your business.
yeah,
Right. And this is not like the whole point of doing this conversation is to say, we got to work together.
yeah,
We can't work against each other because it's too small of a community here. Right. And if
yeah,
you're putting out bad product, the industry will know within 3 months. If you list 3 bad flips in a row, I would say your buyer pool or your buyer agent pool is going to disappear because our time is valuable, right? And we don't want to, it's not that our time is so valuable, it's we don't want to look bad to our clients. If I know a house is probably going to suck, I need to tell my client that ahead of time.
yeah,
I can't just show up and be like, oh, I didn't expect this. No, I'm an expert. I knew this was going to happen.
yeah,
I know this. I saw this house 6 months ago when they bought it. I knew it needed foundation work and all this stuff. And I know 6 months is not enough time. So how could it possibly be right now?
yeah,
And so it start thinking about your end consumer. Going back to that convenience store analogy, if you have an aisle of fresh fruit at your 7-Eleven store and no one's buying it, why would you keep that aisle in your store?
yeah,
You're doing this to make money. Why would you put your house at a spot no one wants to pay for?
yeah.
Doesn't make sense to me. It never has. Go where all the fish are. Stop trying to be a hero on the dock. Get in your boat and go to the fish.
Yeah. Okay, I love it. Um, all right. So, Brent, what are the questions someone should ask a realtor when they're thinking of hiring to sell their home?
Okay, so another one of my big gripes in this part of the industry, but it's everyone, every time I interview to list a house, the first question, two questions people ask me is how much are we worth and what commission are you charging me? The first question every person should ask is, what are you going to do to market my house? And then just stop talking and let them ramble. Because a good agent should have a complete plan in place to market your house because they should understand the buyers in that area and how they behave. Right? If an agent doesn't understand how the buyers behave in that area, how can they market to them?
Yeah.
You're hiring the agent who's going to walk you to the end of the dock and put your line in when all the boats are right there. So, number one question, how do you market my house? How, essentially, it's the opposite of the commission question. Commission, you're asking, how much am I going to pay you? Right? In marketing, you're asking me, what are you going to do with the money I'm giving you? Right? That's the kind of part of our industry that doesn't get talked about enough. That marketing budget is built into that commission. If you're going to pound your agent down and get the lowest possible commission, guess what you're pounding down? Your marketing, your advertising, your budget,
Yeah.
right? If I can't sell a house for less than 2% commission the way I market homes, it's not profitable, right? And so one of those changes I made back then was, hey, if someone says they're not willing to pay at minimum 2%, then I can't do this. It's not profitable for me, right? I'm running a business, and if it's not profitable, I'm not going to do it. It's like putting in a second aisle of fruits and veggies in the store. It doesn't make sense,
Yeah.
right? And so that's the big thing. Marketing, how are we going to market it? But make sure the agent understands who buys in that neighborhood. If your agent is interviewing to list your house and he doesn't ask you or she doesn't ask you, hey, who lives around you? Then you're already done. You're already done, right? Because we talked about areas that are transitioning. Okay, East Kildonan's transitioning. Who's buying there? What do the new customers in that neighborhood look like? And what do they like? Now let's position ourselves to be what they want. Not what we think we are. Let's be what they want to be, because that will make us more money.
Yeah.
And I'm in the business of making my clients more money. And that is really the thing that's made me the most successful now is I make my clients a lot more money. And if you make people money, generally they refer you a lot of business. But yeah, for me, it would be, how are you going to spend my money and who is going to buy? Not the what and the what, like think about the end consumer. And if your agent is interviewing and only talking about themselves and how to get you the most money, your guys are behind the eight ball and you're going to lose.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You know what? I actually have changed. Keenan and I, we evaluate a ton of houses just because of the amount of leads that we get, just for flips and stuff like that. And we actually, when we were first starting out, we'd always look at the top. We were like, okay, how do we get to the top? Now we kind of look at where's the bulk of the sales data? What is selling in that price range that's like the majority, and then what quality is the majority, because sometimes you don't need to go you don't need to go all out to make money when you're flipping a house.
Yeah.
We just talked about it, like if everyone has butcher block countertops, then do butcher block countertops. Like, why would you do quartz? I mean, if everyone has hardwood floors and all they do is just refinish it and that's acceptable in that area, then just do that. You don't have to rip the hardwoods out and then throw new subfloor and then put some expensive LVP in there. You don't need to do that. So I find that really interesting actually, that you spin that question in those listing appointments of saying, okay, so of course there's an amount that I get paid, but let me tell you how I'm going to sell your house actually first and foremost, and how I'm different from the rest. So that's awesome, because we both know that not every real estate agent's the same, right? You might want to go to like, if I'm just a homeowner, you might want to go to your aunt's friend because she said, hey, I have a friend that's a real estate agent, you should talk to him, and you want to be nice and you want to give them the shot. But at the end of the day, like, a guy who's been selling houses for 10 years is very different than a guy who's just started. I have a few friends of mine that are kind of in their early years of selling houses, and some of them are having a tough time because there's just so much information that goes into selling a house, right? You mentioned that you were an economist before. I think that gives you a massive advantage in selling houses, man. You know, like
Yeah.
you think about how, and this isn't, you know, some realtors, there's no degree to get into real estate, right? And so then sometimes you're talking to an agent and then they're like, they start to talk about the house and, well, this is great and I think that you can get this, but the reality is it's all numbers. You know, like this is what's going on, this is what I think we should do, and I think that you can land here if we do it this way.
Yeah,
Right?
totally.
And if you
Totally. I
have the right,
agree.
yeah,
I agree, man. And you know, like if I'll toot my own horn, right? But like they I read like crazy. I
yeah,
read a book every couple weeks. Like I'm a psycho about reading and about knowledge. And I treat this exactly like you said, Denzel. This is not a thing that I'm dipping my toe in. This is my science, right? Like I treat this like science. I will test things. I will test new list prices and I will do 3 comparable listings in a row like that and see how they behave. I treat this job like a scientist. So if you're a new agent, I have 13 years of experience on you. I have a background in economics and I'm reading every book that takes you 6 months to read. I read it in 6 days,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And you have the audacity to come in here and tell me you can do what I do. Okay, let's go then. You got to put the
yeah,
work in, right? And
yeah,
the agents we train and what we like, we're not, if you're a new agent, you come to work at Judy Lindsay team, you're not, it's not fun. Like we push you hard, hard. And this is a place where you come to be a professional in this job, not to try this job. And it's because I've put in that work. So I expect you to meet my level. The amount of people I've interviewed where they tell me, yeah, Brent, I want to sell 20 houses a year and make $100,000 for my family. Awesome. Right? What's your plan? And they have no plan and they don't
yeah,
know what they're doing. Right. And then they go home and they read a Grant Cardone book or a Gary V book, or they get lost on YouTube watching some Tony Robbins video. Right. Guess what? I read all those things, not to learn what they're doing, but to learn what you're going to do so I can take advantage of you. Right.
yeah,
And so you can't get in this ring and expect not to fight. And if you treated it that way, you would prepare for that boxing match. You wouldn't
yeah,
just go, I got this. I put on my suit and I roll in and I got it. No, you prep, you practice. And
yeah,
that's what separates the good agents from the bad ones. And so when you're interviewing an agent, no one's ever asked me like, hey, what book did you read this month? Right. But they ask me like, hey, so what's happening in the market? And if I can confidently talk about that, that's going to win me more business than anything.
yeah, 100%. Okay, so the next question I have for you here is what trends are you seeing in new construction and specifically new developments?
So I mentioned earlier, I do a lot of new development. I'm literally doing a 63 lot complete residential development in the center of Lorette right now, right beside the community center. Um, so if you want to buy a lot there and you want to be a home builder, call me. But we're 50% sold out. I'll toot my own horn. So there over COVID, right? We saw builders take on a ton of inventory and it greatly affected your business without you knowing it.
Mhm.
Um, right? Like paying attention to what the big dogs are doing is a great way as a newer investor or a seasoned investor like Denzel to understand what not to do. Right? When you see Qualico loading up on inventory, hey, we built 42 houses in Sage Creek in the last 6 months. That's going to completely saturate the supply. It's going to drive down the price of all the resale in that area and Southdale and Bona Vista, and it's going to completely affect the market around it. And
Mhm.
so paying attention to new construction is something I started doing to understand market behavior, not because I was interested in it, but I saw it as a canary in the coal mine situation. It would tell me what's coming, right? And so in the middle of COVID, every big builder, small builder, and every builder in between, even you guys, you said it, Denzel, you took on too much.
Yeah.
You went on a shopping spree, right? Or a spending spree, right? Qualico bought every piece of plywood in the city one weekend on a Saturday. They bought every piece of plywood in the city and the price of plywood quadrupled,
Yeah.
right? That's called market controls. Understand them if you want to be good at this job,
Yeah.
right? Or this industry. But they went and oversupplied. And what happens as a result of that is we are still feeling that oversupply right now. They're still unloading some of that inventory. right? And they are dropping prices because they're in the business of turning money, keeping the cash register ringing. And that greatly affects all of our business. But me as an economist, when I see a fire and everyone's running away from it, that's the time you attack.
Yeah.
You run towards the fire. That's where the money is to be made. So getting involved in that, I've done a couple large developments now. And, I got hired by these developers 6 months ago. They had zero sales. All of the developments in the area were stagnant. And we went in, and in 6 months, we're 50% sold out, right?
Wow.
Like, we've changed the future of that development and that town in 6 months by understanding who's going to live there, what do they want to live in, and providing that product to them, right?
Yeah.
I'm not some super salesman. I just understand my customers and I understand what they want to buy, and I put them together.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, right? And in new construction, the trend is now where in COVID, it was a lot of $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 houses being built. Everyone decided they were going to be a luxury builder. You guys too. You're buying
Yeah.
stuff in Lindenwoods. You're buying big houses, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, we can up our sale prices. Let's go big. We're going to be luxury now, right?
Yeah.
Everyone behaved like that. Everybody, because money was free. And everyone was going out and getting that. And that should have told you I shouldn't be chasing that because the market's saturated now. It's completely saturated. So every builder that I know and talk to, which is every builder in the city I've talked to in the last 6 months, are trending down towards $500,000 to $600,000 houses. In the 60s and 70s and going into the 80s when interest rates were high, look at go on MLS right now and look at from 1975 to 1985 built homes. What did they look like? They are 1,000 square foot bungalows, story and a halves, and bi-levels, right? Oh, and split levels, side splits.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did that trend happen? Because everything got expensive, inflation, and they had to build those because that's what people could afford. Guess what just happened to us, guys? We went through in a period of extreme inflation. Our dollar buys less. So builders are bringing the dollar value of their product down. We're going to see a hell of a lot more 1,300 square foot 3-bedroom bungalows and 1,500 square foot box 2 stories going up everywhere. So if you're a flipper and you're holding a lot of inventory in that $500,000 to $600,000 range, you need to get the hell out, and you need to get out now.
Yeah.
Because they're about to put 300 products on the shelf in that price point.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always been my perspective again has changed a lot of like putting velocity of money at the top of the priority list. And when it comes to buying houses, like me and Keenan were just in a house on Ingersoll the other day, and we're walking through it. I'm like, yeah, we're probably going to be done in 3 weeks. And like if you're thinking about how much money we might make on that thing, it could be 40 grand in 3 weeks. And so it's like, well, not 3 weeks, maybe a month, but what can you do legally that can make you that amount of money in that short amount of time, right? And we're also in like the starter price range too. And so I see that where before I'd look at it and be like, I'm gonna quartz counter this and blah 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 blah, spend all the money, open this wall up. But no, again, like just like how fast can we do this and get it back out there? Because the way I see it right now, especially for anything 500,000 and under, we need to be done and sold everything by before July.
Yep.
Because once summer hits, it's like, it's a different market. It's the start of the fall, you could say, right?
Yep.
So there's a good chance that there's going to be a pullback in prices. People are going to go to the lake or whatever, and then the fall's not really that much better. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some high sales that can happen before the winter, right? But then it's time to put your business in a position to now take advantage of 2025 in the spring market, then come to market in January and February of next year. So again, it's a little bit of timing and stuff, and a lot of interesting points of how new construction can affect some of the resale stuff. Because if I can go and live in a brand new house for $500,000, like why would I go over here in the Maples, let's just say, and buy for 450? And I'll just move a little bit further out, and I get like twice the house, brand new everything.
Yep.
So that's I really like that.
Yeah, and it's like, it's exactly, that's 100% right, Denzel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you what 4,000 people should be listening to this?
Yeah. Okay, so what's happening in the higher end real estate in Winnipeg? We're talking, 600 plus price points, and how can a flipper who's looking at doing business in that price point be successful?
So complete opposite answer to what we've talked about up to now.
Yeah.
If you're going to dip so two things. We're going to talk about the buyer first. The buyers who buy in those price points are picky, right? I'm going to show, I have $1 million buyer right now. We've looked at one house in the last 3 months. He's probably had 80 emailed to him, right?
Wow.
Why? Because he earned that money and he wants to buy the thing he wants. It has nothing to do with the seller and the countertop they picked or the flooring they picked or whatever they picked, right? So taking your neutral approach and putting in a white kitchen, gray floors, painting the whole house white and calling it done with some silver light fixtures and some Decora plugs isn't going to get the job done in that price point.
Yeah.
You need to understand who your buyer is, and that buyer wants something their friends can't have or don't have, right? We did an amazing flip, or Keenan did an amazing flip in Lindenwoods for a client. And it had this amazing sunroom on it. Really, really cool sunroom, right? That high-end flip sold because of the cool sunroom. Not because he put in beautiful counters, not because he got all the problems fixed, not the new windows, not the front. No, it had a cool sunroom, right? So making sure if you're going to flip homes in a higher price point, understand the amenities that those people want,
Yes.
not the floor, because they have a level of wealth where they are used to, if they want something, they have, right? So give them something that they maybe don't want to spend their money on, right? In a weird way, if I was going to flip a high-end house, I might repaint it, change out your counters, do your kitchens and your bathrooms, and then I'd slam a pool in the backyard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do something huge. I'm going to put in a cool gazebo with a hot tub in it. I'm
Yeah.
going to create an outdoor kitchen in the backyard. I'm going to make a theater room in the basement. I'm going to put a golf simulator in the garage, right? Provide an amenity that people wouldn't want to spend their own money on, right? If you look at putting in a pool and you get that contract back and it's 80 grand, there's not a lot of people who are like, geez, I'm going to swim in that thing 800 times. So it's $100 a swim for me for the rest of my life. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But if they say, well, we have an $800,000 budget, but this house over here has a pool and it's only $850, your house sells before the $800,000 house every single time.
Yeah.
So don't fall into the trap of taking what worked at 300 and putting it at 700.
Yeah. I've seen
And
people do that.
do not miss a detail.
Yeah.
Don't half-ass it. If you're going to half-ass it, don't do it, right? If you're going to put in new baseboards and trim throughout the house and you're not going to fill the nail holes and caulk it all, I swear to God, guys, I swear, I swear to you, don't do it. Just leave the oak up.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's really understanding who your client is at that price point and providing that to them. If you're going to do something, it better be the nicest version of that you can possibly afford.
Yeah. Yeah, I think understanding the amenities at the price points of where a lot of those higher sales is huge. Like maybe it's a steam shower in the basement, double islands in some of these $1 million houses, like just cool stuff like that you see on like the Instagram reels of like these people in LA and stuff. Like when you're talking about $1 million, like there's not really anything that you can't not buy.
That's right.
So, like, as I was just looking at 1C actives the other day, just for those of you who don't know, that's like North River Heights. How many $1 million homes do you see on the market just sitting there right now? And it's like, yeah, that those buyers that were, approved and were throwing around $1 million like it was 7 aren't there anymore because all they can afford is 6 to 7 now.
Yeah.
Right. So what you were able to get away with in some of those properties no longer is a thing, unless you're on like a really prestigious street in a very particular block. But if you got $1 million house on Beaverbrook, I'm not so sure someone's going to bring you $1 million there because they can go into Tuxedo and say I live in Tuxedo and not on Beaverbrook, right? So that's I love it. So
yeah, it matters, right? Like it matters at that price point. You're dealing with a $300,000 buyer, your buddies who are trying to buy a house right now, right? They just want a house. They just want someone to take their money, right? At 800,000, it's a, why am I going to give you my money?
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? At
Yeah.
300, you have buyers going, please, please take my money. And at 800, they say, why am I going to give you my money?
Yeah.
So you better be ready to answer that question, and you better have solved for all of that before you put that house on the market.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if I know that Keenan had wanted to uh wrap up here around 11:15, and we're a little bit past the mark. Keenan, are you still good here?
Yeah, this has been, you know, a lot of you listening might have had this experience in other facets of your life, but Denzel and Brent are people that I individually have a lot of one-on-one dialogue with at any point in the week. And it is fascinating to watch these two go back and forth and have this conversation,
Yeah.
because I know they haven't really had one-on-one conversations with each other, but this has just been awesome to listen to and hear. And I've kept my mouth shut because I didn't want it to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, me and Brent are just nodding our head because yeah, we haven't had any dialogue. But again, I was just with Keenan this morning, and I was like, I'm really looking forward to this because hearing different perspectives, because Keenan and I talk a lot. I chat with Guy very frequently, other flippers, but hearing like from the agent side is always important because at the end of the day, like those are the people that are going to be bringing the buyers to the products that we have available. There's going to come a time where maybe I'm starting to build houses more frequently, and maybe I do start to add more of the luxury flips into the business because I'm confident that we can sell them in a timely manner. Because again, like even if I'm selling into the 8 or 7 or 900,000 dollar price points, we still don't want to be on the market for longer than 30 days. Like we want to be gone in at least 7 to 20, and under contract and just sold, So yeah, I appreciate everything that you're chiming in on here, Brent, because it's really valuable info for me, and for everyone else listening.
I hope
But
so.
yeah, Keenan, I know that you had a couple other questions here that you wanted to talk to Brent about.
Just a couple here, and then we'll wrap this up. But Brent, first of all, I wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to be here. But Denzel and I wanted to ask you, what direction do you see your business going over the next 5 to 10 years? And then, in addition to that question, is there anything that you would like to ask Denzel or I that you haven't had the chance to ask us yet?
So thanks for having me, guys. I love this. I'll do 10 of these with you guys. But I love talking about real estate, right? And that's maybe the answer to your first question, right? Where do I see my business going? Where the market tells me to take it,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like I'm not so smart that I know where things are going. I react to what's happening. And that's how you build a good real estate business. Your strategy, your plan isn't better than someone else's. Understand what's happening in the market and react to it and put your product in front of that wave. That's it. That's it. That's where my business is going. Right now, it's in new construction, and it has been for a long time, and that will always be a part of it. But the next business line I build might be something different as a reaction to what's happening in the market. So I would say that's my kind of where I see us going at Brent Fontaine Group. We obviously will continue to, take care of our people in St. Vital and River Park South and all the places we work. But we're going to listen to our customers, and what they want and where they want it is where we'll be working. And my main question for you guys is, do you, as investors, when Keenan earlier asked Denzel about, hey, are you going to sell off some of your stuff? Why do you think people are selling their product right now? And will add a caveat. Right this moment, I have been talked to, approached, and have brought on more investment buying clients than at any point in my career. So I have a theory of why this is happening, but I'd love to know what you guys think is happening.
I know for me, just from actually holding real estate and then wanting to exit some of these investments, is there was a lot of pain in the past 18 months. Like for landlords, it was really a tough time if you got into the market in 2020 or 2021 and you were on variables. You know, half the portfolio I have with that I joint ventured with some family on is on a variable rate. So when we first bought these houses, you know, we're talking variable being, you know, 1 to 1.5%, right? Which is like an unbelievable interest rate. But when this is before I met Keenan and Guy and, you know, started to do business with the Judy Lindsay team, I wasn't exactly getting the advice to, hey, you know, this is a very unprecedented time. We've never seen this in history. Fix everything. Because if I had fixed everything, the cash flow would still be insulated from all of the rate hikes that were going to happen in the future. And maybe I'm not talking about selling off a few rentals right now because I'm like, well, I'm fixed till 2026 and I'm like, whatever. But with that being said, you know, there is some cash flow neutral and cash flow negative properties in the portfolio after accounting for vacancies and repairs and maintenance and stuff like that, where it's more of a headache than it is, you know, than anything. So for me, what I see it as is it's almost as if like this is a time where people who didn't really enjoy being a landlord for the past 2 to 3 years know that now, and that now it's time for whoever read that last book about how to get rich can get into the market. Just like how in 2021 and in 2022, a lot of rentals were being dumped at that point because whoever bought in, if I can remember right, you know, the market had changed sometime between 2017 to 2018. You know, if they had to hold for 3 years, 2020 happens and then the market tanks and they're like, oh crap. And then they see the run up again. They're like, okay, now let's just get out of these investments and then roll it into something else. So that's the way I see it. That's how I'm feeling about it now in terms of just like having the rentals. Like I have 20. I certainly don't need 20. I can have like 4 or 5 and be totally happy with that, and then just have the flipping business on the side and maybe take that cash and start lending it out. I don't know. But for me, that's definitely why I think a lot of people who have bought real estate in the past 2, 3 years are looking to exit already. Yeah. Keenan, I'm
So
not sure what you might think.
I'd like to say I don't think it is popular for people who have held real estate for the last 2 or 3 years to want to exit now. I think that is an exception and not the rule. It is the contrary and not the norm. But I will echo everything that Denzel just said about there being a select few who may have gotten a portfolio a little larger than they would have normally liked to have had. And trimming or taking some chips off the table, as we've said, is a good idea when prices seem to be going back up to a level where a sale is not only stomachable, but actually profitable and ideal.
Yeah.
Now, Brent's second question about basically why are people now more than ever looking to buy into rentals, particularly multifamily rentals? I've got what I think is an answer for that. And again, it's just a theory, but I find people want to purchase residential real estate, whether it's multifamily, single family, whatever, when they have access to cash and they want to leverage their money again. And what we've just seen over the past roughly 90 to 120 days is a very significant run up in basically every other semi-liquid asset out there, whether that's bonds, stocks, every type of cryptocurrency, you name it. Prices have gone up pretty dramatically. Like at the top of my head, I think the S&P 500 is up probably 10 to 15% this year. Bitcoin's nearly doubled from 6 months ago. And of course, the meme coins and everything else out there could be doing 100x's again at this point. So long story short is most people's retirement accounts are way up. Most people's non-emergency fund savings are back to where they would have been in 2022 or 2021 when the markets were at the high. And they're just looking to sell the top and get into something. And I think there's a very strong sense of security for people in owning real estate because it's not mark to market, that if they want to, air quotes, sell the top in their stock portfolio or whatever it is they hold and roll that into something that they're not getting a price quoted on every day, provides them a sense of security, and they also get the benefit of the leverage. So as long as the numbers work, it is a good investment and there's nothing wrong with it. But I do think that some of that is playing a part in the behavior that we're seeing, where all of a sudden everybody is looking for 3 to 12 suites, hopefully built between 1950 and 1980 in medium but not too good condition, so you can improve it and refinance your money back, and in a safe area that you're going to get a bunch of tenants that are going to take really good care of it as if it's their own.
Yeah, it's a good time to own some real estate in Wolseley.
Yeah. No kidding.
I
hope that adequately answers that, by the way.
No, I think so. I think it's interesting. Like, people should be paying attention to your answers because you guys are on the front lines, right? I'm not on the front lines. I'm a washed up old guy now. I'm sitting at my desk and waiting for Keenan to call me and tell me what's happening on the front lines, right? But you have to know what's happening out there if you want to be good at this business, right? You have to understand the trends of what's happening and try and be on trend, right? And from an economics point of view, if you go back and you look at when there's periods of high inflation, and there's been lots of them, during those times, the government, the politicians are viewed in very negative lights, right? And people don't understand that it's decisions that were made 4 years before that person was in office that's created the inflation, right? But during inflation, people are less confident in things they can't touch, right? So you'll see exactly what Keenan said. You'll see a run on Bitcoin or gold, right? If you're an economics nerd and you listen to Peter Schiff, he's the most gold, buy gold, you should own gold guy on the world, right? You'll hear some crazy theory that Elon's going to Mars to mine gold or whatever the thing is of the moment, right? What that tells me is people are looking at physical assets, right? And Denzel said a comment when he was talking. I don't know if everyone picked up on it. He said, I don't need 20, I need 5 good ones, right? And what you're saying is, I don't need to chase my gross, I need to improve my net.
Yes.
And that is the way I think people are looking at their investment portfolios. Maybe I don't need to chase the high run up of Bitcoin and the volatility or of the stock market, and I'm going to pull some of that capital and I'm going to put it into something that's safe, right? And we've just spent 2 hours talking about how this market's volatile and not safe, but it's safer than those ones because at least you can touch it, right?
Yeah.
At least you can touch it. You can go drive by your rental and be like, hey, that's mine.
Yeah.
I can't go drive by my Bitcoin, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't make sense. So yeah, I think that we're going to see a period of a lot of new customers entering our market that we're talking about here, right? And you got to be ready for them, and you got to be prepared for them, and you got to put the product you want to sell them in front of them because they're coming. I'm telling Keenan's not wrong. You know, I've picked up more apartment block buyers in the last 3 weeks than I have in the 13 years before.
Wow.
Right? Like, I'm used to holding maybe one a year of people who are looking to spend millions of dollars on apartments. I got a handful of them now.
I got to start building those.
Yeah. Yeah. If I often joke with the builders, if we could just start building 1,000 square foot bungalows for 300 grand, man, we'd be rich.
Yeah.
But inflation gets in the way.
Yeah.
No kidding. You guys, I could seriously talk with you about this for hours on end. And Brent, I know this is not going to be the last time we have you on the show. We are going to want you back because I do think this is going to be probably the most enjoyed episode we've ever done. But we got to cut it off here because I have real estate appointments to go to.
Yeah, we got to go sell stuff, guys.
Yeah, we got to go do our jobs now. But
Yeah.
I wanted to say one last time, thank you both, Denzel and Brent, for that amazing conversation. I think this is truly a gold mine of information. And I am confident that everybody out here listening to this is going to have learned a lot because I know I did.
Awesome. Well, no, this is it's been amazing, you know, spending the morning with you guys. There's always something new that I learn when talking to experienced agents. And Brent, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, guys. It was nice to meet you, Denzel. Even if it's over the internet.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's awesome, guys. Good agents are happy to share. People who tell you that they don't share what they do are people who aren't doing the right things. Guess what? I could tell you exactly how to mirror my business, and 90% of the agents can't hack it. They can't do it that way. So I'm happy to share. I'm happy to answer questions whenever people want. This is like our goal a Judy Lindsay team, but for all our clients, right? It's about making our clients money.
Yeah.
Because if they win, we win. So let's go win. It's lunchtime. Let's go sell something, right? I got to go to Lorette and I got to sell some lots. So let's get out there.
Let's go win. Thank you guys. And we're looking forward to seeing you next time.